Imagine a world where technology is all around us, yet we barely notice it. What if the devices and systems that influence our lives, decisions, and even thoughts were no longer physical objects we could point to, touch, or see? How is it possible that something so powerful could become almost invisible, hiding in plain sight, while shaping our reality in ways we scarcely understand? Our smartphones, wearable devices, and home assistants are just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface, invisible networks of sensors, algorithms, and AI systems monitor everything from our movements to our emotions, quietly analyzing, predicting, and influencing our behavior. Could the most dangerous technology be the kind we don't even realize is there? Think about the data that surrounds us constantly. Every click, every swipe, every glance is captured, processed, and interpreted by systems that operate faster and more accurately than any human mind. What if these invisible technologies could anticipate your decisions before you make them, nudging you subtly toward certain choices without your awareness? How much of what we call free will is actually being guided by networks of invisible algorithms designed to optimize outcomes, engagement, and efficiency? As AI becomes more sophisticated, the line between human intention and machine influence blurs. Could it be that the most profound changes in our lives are happening in spaces we can't perceive, orchestrated by intelligence that exists everywhere, but nowhere tangible? Consider how this invisibility extends to infrastructure itself. Roads, buildings, transportation systems, and energy grids are becoming embedded with sensors and AI, learning, adjusting, and predicting without human intervention. How is it possible that the very environment we inhabit is now capable of shaping our behavior in subtle, yet profound ways? Could a smart city, for example, control traffic flow so efficiently that we forget there was ever congestion, or optimize energy use to the point that we no longer notice the environmental cost? And if these systems can monitor and manage the world so seamlessly, what risks emerge when control is invisible, decision-making is opaque, and errors or biases go unnoticed? The concept of invisibility is even more striking in personal technology. Wearable devices, smart clothing, and implants gather biometric and neurological data continuously. What if a device embedded in your clothing could detect stress, fatigue, or illness before you notice it yourself? Could it alert AI systems to adjust your environment, recommend interventions, or even prevent disease? And if this information is collected, stored, and analyzed at scale, what does it mean for privacy and autonomy? How can we understand or control what is invisible, when it has become so intimately connected to our bodies, minds, and routines that we scarcely recognize it as separate from ourselves? Invisible AI is also transforming communication and information. Algorithms curate the news we see, the content we interact with, and the people we meet online. What if the streams of information we rely on are subtly engineered to shape our beliefs, emotions, and behaviors without our conscious awareness? Could the choices we think are ours actually be guided by patterns too complex for humans to detect, yet perfectly calculated by invisible intelligence? And when these systems learn from one another, sharing data and models across global networks, the effect becomes not just local, but planetary, creating a new layer of influence that is simultaneously pervasive and hidden. Even the most advanced robotics and autonomous systems are becoming invisible in their impact. Self-driving vehicles, drones, and delivery robots operate in ways that often go unnoticed, integrating seamlessly into our daily lives. What if a drone delivering supplies or a vehicle transporting people is constantly collecting data, analyzing traffic patterns, and optimizing routes in real time, all without human awareness? Could the cumulative effect of these invisible operations reshape entire cities, economies, and social behaviors without anyone realizing the extent of the change? And as these systems gain more autonomy, how do we ensure safety, accountability, and ethical oversight when the technology itself is largely imperceptible? In healthcare, invisibility takes on a more intimate dimension. AI systems embedded in medical devices and hospital infrastructure monitor vital signs, predict disease, and guide treatment without the patient ever seeing the process. What if your body is constantly communicating with intelligent systems, anticipating illnesses and guiding interventions without a doctor's direct input? Could preventive care become so automated and invisible that we forget the traditional model of diagnosis and treatment altogether? And if these invisible systems can optimize health on a personal scale, what are the risks when data is misinterpreted, manipulated, or compromised, even unintentionally? The invisible nature of technology also challenges our understanding of reality itself. Quantum computing, sensor networks, and AI models operate in layers that most humans cannot perceive directly. What if the true power of technology lies not in what we can see or touch, but in the unseen interactions between algorithms, hardware, and human behavior? Could the world we experience every day be shaped more by these invisible forces than by natural events? And if that is the case, how do we reconcile our perception of autonomy, choice, and causality with the reality of a hidden, intelligent infrastructure influencing nearly every aspect of our lives? Education and work are not immune to this invisible transformation. AI tutors, workflow optimizers, and predictive HR systems guide learning, productivity, and collaboration in ways often imperceptible to the users themselves. What if your performance, opportunities, and career trajectory are shaped by systems operating in the background, analyzing patterns and making recommendations before you even act? Could the most profound technological impacts be the ones that remain unseen, silently shaping skills, knowledge, and social networks at a global scale? And if these invisible systems are everywhere, how do we balance efficiency, fairness, and human agency in environments we can no longer fully perceive? Even art, entertainment, and creativity are being influenced by invisible AI. Recommendation algorithms, content generators, and adaptive media shape what we watch, listen to, and engage with, all without explicit awareness. What if the stories, music, and experiences we value are subtly optimized by intelligent systems to capture attention, elicit emotion, and influence thought patterns? Could we be living in a reality where the culture itself is co-created with AI, yet we only see the final product, unaware of the invisible forces behind it? And when creative output is filtered through unseen algorithms, how do we define originality, authorship, or even the boundaries between human and machine imagination? The most dangerous aspect of invisible technology may be how it intersects with trust and perception. What if people can no longer discern which systems are human-driven and which are autonomous, yet both have significant influence over decisions, emotions, and outcomes? Could misinformation, manipulation, or unintentional bias propagate more effectively in a world dominated by invisible systems? And if the infrastructure shaping society, health, economy, and personal life is largely imperceptible, how can we hold it accountable, understand its influence, or even recognize when it is acting against human interests? Finally, consider the philosophical implications. If technology becomes invisible, acting everywhere yet noticed nowhere, what does it mean for consciousness, perception, and our sense of reality? What if the world we perceive is increasingly a blend of natural events and intelligent interventions we cannot see? Could the invisible become the most powerful determinant of our experiences, choices, and futures? And as we advance, how do we navigate a landscape where the greatest dangers and the greatest benefits coexist precisely because we cannot directly perceive them, relying instead on the intelligence of systems that operate in the shadows, shaping life itself? The invisible nature of modern technology challenges every assumption we hold about control, agency, and reality. As AI, sensors, and quantum systems continue to permeate the world, influencing everything from health and environment to behavior and cognition, we are entering an era where the most significant forces in our lives are hidden in plain sight. What if the very fabric of our world, the air we breathe, the energy we consume, the information we trust, is being silently orchestrated by intelligent systems we cannot see? Could invisibility be the defining characteristic of the next technological revolution, the feature that makes it most powerful, most effective, and simultaneously most dangerous? And in facing this future, the question becomes not whether we can keep up, but whether we can even perceive what is shaping us before it shapes us completely.